So, I'm nervous. I'm always a bit nervous when putting a video together that is in any way critical of the Wheel of Time, but I hope I've made it clear by now that I'm a fan, that I love these books, that these criticisms in no way take away from my love for these books. But yeah, this video is going to be a criticism. I'm going to be talking about missed opportunities in the Wheel of Time. But before I go on, I do have to give a sort of caveat to this, like a big old qualifier, I guess. None of the issues I'm going to talk about in this video stood out to me on my first reading, or even like my 10th reading. These are all things that I started to notice within the last few years. And given that I've been reading and rereading these books since, I don't know what, like the early to mid 90s, that can give you a hint at as to how long it took for me to notice these few things and to just wish that they had happened slightly differently. In fact, actually, that's maybe a better description of this video. Some things in the Wheel of Time that I wish had happened a little differently, but that's not as catchy as missed opportunities, so that's the title I'm going to go with. And again, sorry, but once again, this video will contain spoilers through to the end of the series, so if you haven't finished the Wheel of Time, I suggest you leave now. Or, you could mute the video and go do your dishes or something. So, the first scene I'm going to talk about is in Winter's Heart. It's a small scene near the beginning of the book. Rand has handed off some captured Suldam and Damani to Elaine to... I'm actually not sure what he thought was going to happen, but basically he's just given them to her to deal with as she sees fit. And all of them, both the Suldam and Damani, need to be deprogrammed before they can be uncollared because they're too dangerous. Like the Damani would help free the Suldam and then there would be a big fight, and you don't want that. But in this scene, it appears that some of them have been successfully deprogrammed, including one Damane, Olivia, who is considerably stronger than Nynaeve. And we know that Nynaeve is hella strong in the power. So people are suspicious of Olivia. They're not sure if they should allow any of these women to be uncollared, but for some, like, they are focused on Olivia. And the way the scene is written, Nynaeve and Elaine are considering what to do, and Lan is there. He's just there. And before any of the Aes Sedai can give their opinion, Lan interjects that keeping the women collared when they have expressed the desire to be free, it's morally wrong, and if they're going to do that, they might as well send them back to Shan-Shan. And then, a few moments later, after apparently having to think about it, Nynaeve makes the decision to free them. And Lan gives her, a Taishar Manetheren, and it makes Nynaeve all fluttery, which is cute, but okay. What I wish had happened differently is... well, I wish Lan hadn't interjected, and I wish it hadn't been written that Nynaeve had seemed to consider keeping them collared. I find the idea that Nynaeve was actually considering keeping these women collared and that Lan had to help her make the right decision really odd. I don't like it because, okay, well, y'all know Nynaeve is my girl, and I feel like this undermines her character, but also it just doesn't fit with her character. We know that the collar disgusts her. It even disgusted her to use it with Moghedien. So why on earth does she need Lan to tell her to do the right thing? It doesn't make sense. So what I wish is that his interjection is removed. Keep the Taishar Manetheren, keep Nynaeve getting all fluttery, that's all good. Actually, it's great. Nynaeve getting recognition for being awesome, long overdue in my opinion. And getting that recognition from Lan is great. The next one on my list is From the Fires of Heaven, specifically the end of the book. So, okay, as it's written, what happens is Moiraine takes Rand and Aviendha and Egwene to the docks, and there they are confronted with, like, the ultimate crazy ex-girlfriend archetype in Landfire. She is going insane trying to figure out, like, which one of these bitches boned her ex. And then Moiraine takes her out. They go through the twisted doorway and Moiraine is dead. I mean, I know, she's not dead, but like, she's dead. And then we get another big battle. And that battle is awesome. It's cool. You've got Nynaeve there with Moghedien on a leash, and it's a great battle. But I can tell you that it is only in recent rereads, very recent rereads, that I have been able to take in how great that battle is. Even with the pivotal role that Nynaeve plays in it, I couldn't take it in. I would just sort of read through it in a daze. Like, I know the details, but it wasn't exciting and it wasn't gripping, which is crazy because it's amazing. Now, the reason for this is that right before this battle, Moiraine dies. And yes, I know, she comes back, but she's gone for a bloody long time. And everyone in the world thinks she's dead and is grieving, and so am I. In fact, I generally just kind of feel numb with the shock of her death. And the reason I was able to finally take in the awesomeness of that final battle was because on a fairly recent reread, I actually put the book down right after Moraine's death and took a break for like a few weeks before picking it up again. Not intentionally, actually just some life stuff happened, but it was reading that battle, that final battle, without feeling the shock of Moraine's death that made me finally appreciate it and made me think that I wish that these had happened in the opposite order. You know, like the battle in Caemlyn would be first. Rand would get word that Morgase is dead and take his forces to Caemlyn, and everything could happen in the exact same way except Moiraine is there. And honestly, if I was writing the show, what I would switch these, and what I would do is like fill a couple of episodes before maybe with this foreshadowing, with a sense of foreboding, like that Moiraine knows her end is coming or something. There would be some sort of hints at this, you know, that she's destined to die or something. And then in that initial strike, she would be one of the ones to die. And so we would feel like, oh man, that sucks. But like, we all saw the foreshadowing, we saw it coming. And then, you know, Rand balefires the ever-loving shit out of Robin and brings her back and all of the others. And we all go, oh, phew, that was a close one. And then we would have the scene on the docks with Landfire. Have the book, or season, I guess, end with Moraine's death. I feel like that's much more of a punch in the gut. It's the emotional center of this particular storyline, and I think the impact would be greater that way. So, yeah, I wish this was slightly different. The third thing that I wish had been slightly different was Swan as Amyrlin. I wish we had been given some evidence that she had been a good Amyrlin. Now, I know that's going to sound strange because I'm pretty sure we all think that she was a good Amyrlin, and yes, she was. She kept the search for the Dragon Reborn. She managed the sisters well, I mean, at least up until, you know, the end. But, okay, what I mean is, we're consistently told that the Aes Sedai are super powerful. And I don't just mean because they have magic. We are told that they are politically powerful, that they have influence in the world. But we don't really see it that much. Like, we see Aes Sedai advisors working with various leaders in different places, but honestly, it isn't clear, at least not to me, if those specific Aes Sedai are working in tandem with the White Tower, like with the agenda of the White Tower, of the agenda of the Amyrlin to do whatever the White Tower's political goals are, which also we don't really know what the political goals of the White Tower are, or if these Aes Sedai advisors are just working independently for their own purposes, which, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what Elaida is doing. She doesn't seem to be there to, like, further any of Swan's goals. It doesn't seem like that at all. After Swan is pulled down and Elaida is in power, we have this mad woman at the helm of this apparently super powerful organization. And we are sort of meant to assume that she is a horrible leader, especially in contrast to Swan before her. But aside from searching for the dragon, what exactly did Swan do that was so great? In fact, we're actually given a glimpse behind the curtain when Gareth Bryn confronts her about a time when she like circumvented some of his battle plans, and he asks her why. And she tells him that the battle might have resulted in the death of someone that she and the Tower had determined had a real chance to unify a country and bring peace. But when she's pushed on it, she has to admit that the man that they had placed all this hope in had died in a rather unceremonious fashion, and that their plans came to nothing. Now, I know what the scene is. this scene is adjusting the balance of power between her and Gareth Bryn. Her admitting that, like, ruining his plans, all of her schemes and plans had been pointless, brings her down to his level. But again, on recent rereads, this began to irk me because it's the only real example we have of Swan doing something as Amyrlin that didn't have anything to do with Rand or the Dragon Reborn, that showed that she cared about the world beyond the Dragon Reborn and was trying to make the world a better place. I wish that this story had showed that she was actually good at it, instead of showing that her efforts were fruitless. The next one on my list is a small one. Okay, well actually no, it's not. It actually would be a huge deal, but I don't have a lot to say about it. I just kind of wish one of the Forsaken had been given a redemption story, like a full one, like they return to the light. I would still want them to face consequences because they have done some horrible stuff in their life, but I would like to have seen one of them return to the light. I have no idea which one. I just know that I do not want it to be Landfire, because in the final book, where we were sort of being led to believe that that might happen, I was so annoyed. Like, I was reading it going, oh, come on. I wanted one of them to come back to the light, just not her. It's too much of a cliche, you know? She turned to the dark because she was jealous of her ex, but then she comes back to the light because of romantic love, and it's gross, it's been done, it's played out. But in this world, we have this belief system that says that no one can be in the shadows so long that they can't return to the light. And because we have this system, this truism, this catechism, I think it would have been powerful if one of the Forsaken actually did. I don't really have any more thoughts on this. I don't know who I would want it to be. I just know who I don't want it to be. The next one on my list, I gotta tell you, I was super proud of this one. I thought I was like absolutely original, that I was the only person who had thought of this, and then I dipped my toe into the online fandom and turned out that I am not a special and unique flower. I am a blade of grass, just like the rest of you. But okay, the way I thought of it is actually kind of unique, so I will tell you that. This one is actually also probably the most recent one I've added to this list, because it came to, like, I thought of this in the last year. But to say that I thought of it actually feels kind of dishonest, because it wasn't a conscious thought. So what happened was, I was in the middle of my latest reread, not sure what book I was on actually, but I was in the shower and I was washing my hair and humming to myself when I just had the spontaneous thought that, man, it's so cool that Fael got to blow the horn of Elia. Like, it's a natural end for her story arc, you know? She comes in as a hunter for the horn and she goes out having blown the horn. It's perfect. It's awesome. And then, a few moments later, I froze, like hands all deep in the suds in my hair, thinking, wait a minute, Fael didn't blow the horn, that Oliver kid did. What the hell? Where did that thought come from? And then, after a few moments, I realized I had dreamt it. I had dreamed that Fael had blown the horn. And for the rest of the day, actually the rest of the week, if I'm honest, I couldn't stop thinking about it. How much I liked this idea better than having Oliver do it. It's a much more, it's a narrative through line, you know? And it still maintains that surprise factor that I have to admit totally blew my mind. The fact that the horn wasn't tied to Matt and that anyone could have blown it this entire damn time, that just, like, I remember being gobsmacked when I read that for the first time, and I still love it. But yeah, now I wish it had been Fael instead. Everything else could be exactly the same. It's just Fael instead of Oliver. If they did this in the show, it would actually also solve the Oliver aging problem, you know, that I mentioned in a previous video. Basically, he's supposed to be a young kid, but, you know, the way shows are filmed, he's going to age much faster than his character does. I mean, they can change that if they want. They are fully allowed to, but I'm just not super attached to his character anyway, so yeah, I wish Fael had blown the horn instead. I also wish that no one else had thought of this so I could be all special and unique. But, you know, it actually also sort of validates this idea to know that apparently lots of other people have had this, so I guess it goes both ways. The final item on my list is probably the one I feel the strongest about, but it's also the one I expect to get the most pushback on. And it has to do with the cleansing. Okay, So, as written, Rand and Nynaeve link to cleanse the taint using the Chodonkal access keys. Rand is, he's of course, he's uber strong, and Nynaeve is as well, but apparently it appears that having this much power flowing through her is at the very edge of her limit. The thing is, by this point in the books, we've actually been introduced to a stronger female channeler than her, Olivia, who I mentioned before. Now, of course, Rand does not know or trust Olivia, so, that's why she's not being used. But it does seem a waste to have not used her, especially when, at the end of the cleansing, we see that because channeling this much of Saidar was the edge of Nynaeve's ability, the female access key melted. The light lost a really significant weapon on their side because of this. This probably wouldn't have happened if Olivia had been the one to link with Rand. But, okay, that's not the change that I wish had been made, not even a little bit. I want Nynaeve to be a part of the cleansing for sure. I'm just pointing out that it's not just her strength in the power that was of value here. Okay, so let me lay this out for you. Robert Jordan created a gendered magic system, and whatever I may or may not feel about this, this is the system that we are working in. He also, for some reason, decided to divide the abilities along some pretty stereotypical lines, by which I mean we are told that, in general, most men are stronger in the power than most women. But women, in general, most women are more dexterous with their weaves than most men. These contrasting skills, I think, are supposed to make them equal, like balanced. Balance is like a big theme in these books, but we actually never see this at play. The closest we see of this is some power fights between, I think it's Rand and Landfire, where she uses her skill to undo some of his weaves. But to me, this doesn't really count because when it happens in the books, Rand he's a newbie with the power. He's very untrained. So it's not strength versus dexterity at those moments. It's hundreds of years of training and experience against someone who is fumbling around, having only just started to learn how to channel. So, okay, back to the cleansing, I swear. There's a connection here. As it is written, Rand and Nynaeve link, and she gives control over to him, or actually more accurately, the way it's written, he tears the control away from her. And then he creates this like intricate flower lattice of Saidar, like a tube thing. And then the taint is siphoned off into Shadar Logoth. Now, Nynaeve is essential in this because she gives him access to Saidar, but she's basically just a conduit. She's passive. And to me, this is a missed opportunity to show the need for not only the male and female halves of the source, but also the need for men and women to actively work together. And it would make the fact that it was Nynaeve and not Olivia make even more sense, because Olivia is just power. She has been trained as a weapon, whereas Nynaeve is power and skill. I wish that the intricate and beautiful flower lattice thingy had been Nynaeve's active contribution to the cleansing, something that showcased her skill as well as her strength, and showed that men and women intentionally and actively working together, not just a man using a woman's power, which is what we have happening in this book, but actually working together to use the power together. That is what enables people to accomplish the great feats of the power that happened back in the Age of Legends. So yeah, these are 6 things which I wish had happened a little differently. And I gotta say that it is absolutely killing me that this list has 6 things on it, not 5 or 10. 6 is a horrible number for a list video. But well, for now, these are the only ones on my list, so I can't even break it up into 2 videos. So yeah, it's a list of 6. I am profoundly uncomfortable with this. But you know what, I gotta say that even though I think that this list has to be classified as like a critique, the fact that after all these years there are only 6 things on this list says a lot to me. 6 quote-unquote missed opportunities in 15 books? That's pretty damn good. So I guess I will end this here. Let me know what you think. Am I 100% wrong, or did I miss some missed opportunities? Leave me a comment below. And join my Discord. I love talking with people about Wheel of Time, or anything really, on Discord, so please join that. I will link it in the description below. And if you want to support me making content, one of the best ways to do that is Patreon, which I will also link in the description below. And as always, like, subscribe, and stick around for the art credits. Bye!